All right, we found another schematic. This is an accumulation right now. We're talking about Bitcoin after this downward thrust of about 10%. It looks like it's accumulating right now. So how does this look? Well, we have this large amount of resistance underneath, which should hold. And we're basically on our final thrust down. This should enter this range, but it shouldn't coalesce underneath. If you start seeing something like this, it's invalidated and it's not an accumulation. Let's look at some reasons why it is. Well, if it was a redistribution, it would probably end right here. This part would just end up going down, right? As we talked about, redistributions usually grind down, have a large pump up to wipe out all of this liquidity and all these levels, and then continue down. Well, this one didn't, which is a great sign. It's a microstructure and an overall macro structure. We've seen this occur back in, let me check. It's going to be back here on, right here basically, right? It's a very similar situation where this is a redistribution, grind down, up thrust, but it didn't bust through. It actually went back up. It was the support held. So we have a similar scenario right now. Is this going to play out the same way? Probably not. These aren't ever one-to-one by any measure. Can we still go down after this? Sure, but I think we're in for a bounce at least, if it's the case that the overall trajectory is downward. So let's go back into it right now. We have the SC, which is the selling climax, which occurs after the last low where the next low doesn't go any further down. The ST doesn't actually break lower. That's when you know how to draw your trading range, which is between the AR, the automatic rally, and then the selling climax in this scenario, right? So you have to wait until the last wick and then the next pump down. You got to wait for it to not cross lower than the previous low. That's when you know the trend has gone from a downward trend to a sideways trend, which is, accumulation, reaccumulation, redistribution, distribution sort of thing. So that's what happened here. It had actually two secondary tests. The way we read these schematics is people might get confused at here. Why is it testing twice? If you look at the WYCKOFF schematic, it doesn't do that. Well, it doesn't matter. It's really a sequential thing how to read these schematics. So the way you read it is you're trying to make your trading range first, which is what I just explained, right? So you create the trading range. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just get rid of this. You create the trading range first, then, which is these two lines, which are related to your automatic rally and your selling climax. Then after that, you wait for other structures to form. What's the next one? Well, you got to see this upthrust, which wipes out all this liquidity here. It has to happen. Whether this tests 50 times and then an upthrust, it can still be an accumulation. And then after the upthrust, you want this STB, which is the secondary test, really again, just in a different phase of the structure. But you want this one to be a new lower low, right? If it's not a new lower low, it's just another regular secondary test. Well, not really. If it comes after this upthrust, even if it doesn't break the bottom, it still could be considered a secondary test. It's just that at that point it gets very murky on what you're looking at, and you don't really want to trade it unless the rest looks very good. It falls right into place. So after this, you should see basically another retest to the top. It might be here. It might break it a little bit like this. But overall, after that, you're going for that final thrust down, which is either a spring, or it could actually just kind of coalesce here, create a sort of a creek, little creek structure, maybe grinds down like this, and then goes up. Right, those are the three variants. So you'll have your three thrusts down. Everything works in threes in WYCKOFF. Like this, or this type of structure, right? Maybe even it coalesces near the bottom. When you see something like this and you have the spring and then it's the best for actually trading, right? So the way you would trade it is once it breaks through, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a redistribution. So you wait for it to re-enter the range, which is a very good sign, and then to test it. Ideally, that would be where you place your trades, your long. Sometimes you don't get that option, right? Sometimes it just kind of continues going up and you don't really test it as noticeably, right? Maybe you retest it on a very low time frame and you're not able to really gauge whether it's a test or not. That comes with trading, right? If that's your case and if you're risk averse, just don't take it. Wait for a better accumulation. They happen all the time. That's what we're looking at so far. This scenario is what I'm expecting, or the grind down sort of, but I think this will be a reaccumulation, which the price target is up here, right? So it's not the largest reaccumulation. And in fact, I don't know what happens when this occurs. This is ridiculous. Anyways, so the reason why these things are it shows you a specific change in direction. To tell you where it's going to end up at isn't as important, because if the overall larger trend is going upwards, it's going to shoot right past that zone right there. Let me just reload this. Trading view's buggy. So it'll blast right through it, right? If the overall trend is down, it might go up a little bit and then just go straight down, or just continue down. But I don't think so. I think if you follow what I just explained, you should be able to put in a very good trade. But this is the dot anyways. But yeah, it's essentially like that. So like even up here, if you look at the dot price that we were talking about before, you know, we saw this clear distribution, right? This one up here that we made a video about, right? Clear as day. I mean, this is as perfect as it really gets. It even has this little bounce back, which is very descriptive of these distributions. So the price target, the very conservative one, was like down here. It's like within here, right? I forgot exactly where, but it continued going down. In fact, it coalesced right at the bottom at like the max target you can actually place from this distribution, the max price target. And this could be just because, well, the trend has overall changed. So usually when large trends change, right, it'll mark something like this and it might go down for 30%. That's not the price target of this little tiny distribution, but it doesn't matter because it was just the distribution to start off the overall trend. It happens all the time. If you look back here, and it will be done very soon, guys. Let's check this one, right? If you were to look at certain spots up here, you would see the same scenario. You'd see a little distribution most likely, and then a massive dump down. Well, this dump isn't caused by this distribution. It's sort of a canary in the coal mine where it tells you a trend change could happen, or it could be just a small correction. So anyways, that's what we're looking at right now. So I think we're, even from a momentum perspective, you see it coiling up, and I think everything is going to turn around right now. There's a lot of resistance at the level that I showed previously right here. There's like basically a wall created because of all this action, and I think it will hold, at least for the foreseeable future. Now, mind you, I don't even want to mention this. This looks extremely similar. In fact, let me do something right now. I'll explain to you guys. Let me just turn off all these. All right. Let's take a look at something. I'll show you what this looks very similar to. You're not gonna like it, really. In fact, this right? Even this part is very similar to this part here, right? So you have the two tops. Second one a little bit higher than the first one. Same thing here, right? And then a grind down of price, right? What do we have here? Grind down of price. Okay. So are we seeing the same type of pattern? I've started seeing a lot of these double top sort of patterns ever since this last 3 months or so. So I don't know what's going to happen right here. Maybe we get a little bounce back and then this fulfills, but I for the short term, I'm positive, even though in the macro, everything is just really in a state of not collapse, but it's even the traditional markets are very bad right now. So we'll see what happens. It's dependent on today with the open of the futures, and then tomorrow when the market opens, we'll see what's going to happen.